Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm very excited for today's video because I am making art. Like, it's been a while and a lot of you may not know, but I have a fine arts background. I studied sculpture. I have an MFA in sculpture, and I have not like exercised my artistic side for a long time, for a while, like a little bit off and on, but for the most part I just haven't. So I'm not gonna get into all of that. I don't want this video to be like super long. So if you guys are interested in like hearing a little bit about that, feel free to like hit me up on Instagram at homeartlydiy. Maybe I'll do like a separate video, maybe like a story time or something like that. But to keep this video to a minimum, because y'all know I like to talk when I come on here, and I want to do like 5 different art pieces. I don't know if it's all gonna happen today, but yeah. So the idea is that I want to create a gallery wall, but for my kitchen. I have 2 sculptures up right now, which I'll show you. So these sculptures have been up on my kitchen wall for like 3 years now. And I'll be honest, like I bought them from a furniture store. They looked nice in the store when I bought the couch and all this stuff. And you know, I didn't love them, but I didn't hate them. I just felt like, oh, you know, it's a replica of something that someone else has in their house, which is fine, but it just never felt right. And I guess that's the artist in me that just like, you know, it's just like, all right, well, whatever. It's something to put up on a wall. So we went with it. It was fine. Whatever. It worked. It's just, I don't know. It feels kind of dark and dull to me. So I'm ready to change it up, or at least put it away for a little while. So I figured, why not, you know, try to make some art and put up a, you know, various different types of art. I am hopefully, well, I'm thinking anyway, that I'm going to create some canvas art, some art on watercolor paper, maybe even some textile art. I'm going to show you what I found at the Dollar Tree that I'm going to attempt to turn into like a textile piece of art. And yeah, my style, the style that I'm going for is mainly like a minimalist kind of line drawings, and you know, just different, a play off of line drawings and textures and geometric shapes and that sort of thing. That's just true to myself. That's pretty much what I've always gravitated towards in my art making processes when I was in school studying fine arts. So that's what I'm going to stick with right now, and that's just my style. I keep it simple, clean lines, you know, geometric shapes, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you what I have, and then we're going to just kind of jump right in. Look at this, what I found at the Dollar Tree. It's a piece of carpet tile. Okay, so my thoughts for this particular piece is that I can paint over it, cut it to size, and then have it like a floating piece inside of this frame. So we'll see how that works. For the first artwork, I cut my carpet tile to size first. I figured by doing it this way, I'm only applying paint where I need it to go, and I'm not wasting any. Next, I'm mixing some gesso and white acrylic paint together. The gesso will help the paint kind of hold on better to the carpet tile. If I just added the paint to the carpet tile, it's just going to soak right in, and I would end up having to apply 2, 3, maybe even 4 coats for the paint to even show up at all. Think of it like this. The carpet tile is like your skin, and the paint is lotion. So if I'm just going to apply lotion right to my skin, it's going to soak right up. But if I apply the gesso to the carpet tile, then I'm basically creating like a priming situation. So it just kind of creates a better foundation. I went back and forth between my brush and my sponge to layer the paint on, and I actually found the process to be very therapeutic. I don't know, it was something about the way the sponge rubbed against the carpet tile, creating like a weird friction. I just found it to be oddly satisfying. I love how this came out. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Just hanging on the wall just like this, but I'm going to attempt to frame it in like a floating frame situation. For the frame, I decided to cut a piece of white watercolor paper to size, and I placed it over the backing of the frame. I removed the protective plastic from the plexiglass and I placed it in the frame. Now, since I didn't want to add the carpet tile inside underneath the plexiglass, I decided to mount it using double-sided tape right onto the plexiglass. So I have these 10 by 20 inch canvases from Michaels. So they look like this. And I really like them. I have 2 of them. I'm not sure I'm going to use both of them. I don't. For my next artwork, I grabbed some shredded paper from my shredder to make some paper mache. And by the looks of it, it needed to be emptied out anyway. Steps. I'm going to just pour some in here. Paper mache is one of those things that I really enjoy working with because you can't really mess it up. And because I'm not like a super duper planner, it works for me. I have my moments when I really like to just jump into a project. And so materials like water, paper, glue, especially like school glue, you know, they're just user friendly and they're ideal. Since I was going for a super chunky texture, I only mixed my ingredients until I was happy with the consistency of it. And there was no particular measurements, as you can see. I was just kind of pouring the water in and just kind of like letting the paper soak it up. And if I needed more, then I added more. And then I added some school glue and I just started mixing until it felt right. For the next step, my camera did die on me. I'm so sorry for that. But all I did was I drew a few bowls with a ruler and a round object. And once I was happy with my sketch, I started to add some of the paper mache to my canvas. Just a side note, if you do have a shredder at home and you're thinking about grabbing some paper to make some paper mache projects, just make sure it's just paper. I guess at some point I had shredded some credit cards or discount cards because some hard pieces of plastic ended up in my mixture. And so I had to pull out all those pieces as I applied the paper mache to my canvas, which was extremely annoying. So just, you know, that's a lesson for me for next time. However, I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. So just make sure that your paper is just paper and it's not going to have those hard pieces of plastic from like old credit cards that you may have shredded as well. Once my bowls were fully dried, that took about 2 full hours. I painted it with a blend of both titanium white and unbleached white acrylic paint. To add some contrast, I outlined the other 3 bowls using jet black acrylic paint. I had some leftover paper mache, so I decided to make another textured piece, but with a little bit more three-dimensionality. I added some gesso to the leftover paper mache and I laid it out on an old towel. Now I'm using an old towel to lay it out on because it'll help soak up any excess water. And then next I'm laying a sheet of parchment paper over the top while I roll it out using this recycled old paper towel roll. This just makes cleanup a lot easier. Now this piece had to dry for a full 48 hours before I was able to move it. So what I had to do was basically let it dry for one day on one side and then flip it over very, very carefully. And then I let it dry for another 24 hours or another day on the other side. Here I'm just cutting a piece of watercolor paper to size so it fits in my frame that I'll be using to mount it on. Once my sculpture was fully dried, I gave it a splash of white paint and I added this piece of wood to the back for mounting. Oh, and I'm calling this a sculpture because even though it is a flat piece and it's made of paper, it won't sit flush to the wall like a traditional portrait. It'll be sort of raised against the wall by about an inch. So I'm calling it a two-dimensional sculpture actually, because even though you can't walk around it like a three-dimensional sculpture, it still has elements of sculpture to me because it is raised against the wall and it's just the texture, it just has sculptural elements. So I like to think of it as a two-dimensional sculpture. After mounting it, I wasn't really feeling the black frame so much, so you'll see later on that I changed it to white by simply spray painting it. Moving on to the last piece, I wanted to create a gesture drawing of like a kitchen tool. So I wanted a drawing of a spatula or like a whisk or a bowl or something. So I've already did the bowls with the paper mache. So I decided on a whisk. I started with the background by painting it with a splash of yellow using yellow ochre watercolor paint. Adding a splash of color helps your gesture drawing stand out more than it would if it were just drawn right on white paper. Since the whisk is going to have a more certain shape that resembles a thing and you can actually put a name to it, I wanted the background shape to be as organic and natural feeling as possible to contrast the shape of the spatula. Now it's time to draw the whisk, and I'm using a Sharpie to do this, so I only get one shot. The idea is to only use gestures to help me create a super simple abstract drawing. Now that I have my drawing, I'm just going to go back in and add a few more minute details to create more interest. What it's looking like. Variation of the yellow ochre. I got some like lighter areas and I got this darker area. I really like how the handle and the whisk came out. I think it looks like a whisk. Tell me what you guys think. For my last artwork, I knew I wanted to add another piece to my gallery wall that would include something personal, so I was very excited when Mapiful reached out for a collaboration. If you don't already know about Mapiful, it's a really cool company that exists to inspire you to celebrate how far you've come in life and where you're headed. Mapiful helps you turn your memories into home decor artwork that you'll fall in love with over and over and over. I loved how easy it was to order my print. I went to mapiful.com and I scrolled around a bit. I was immediately drawn to the inspiration tab, so I selected a popular print design, but then I was still able to customize my print with choice of city, state, even down to the coordinates and color. I love that I was able to choose a design that already existed. It was already popular, but I was still able to change certain things about it to make it feel like it was truly customized by me. I added it to my cart, and then the next best thing happened. I was offered frames according to the size of that print, so it took the guesswork out for me. I ordered my print within minutes, and I had it at my doorstep within 4 days with free shipping. As you can see, it arrived in pristine condition, no bends, no scratches. It's just perfect, and it's the perfect addition to my gallery wall. I love when guests walk in now, they'll see this personalized gallery wall full of my artwork along with my Mapiful print. A big thanks to Mapiful for wanting to collaborate with me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and watching my art making processes. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.